What's going on, you guys? So I was looking through some old notes on this idea of lies we were told and truths we weren't. And so one of the ones that kind of just stood out for today was it's a lie that I would say we all kind of have at some point, and we're still today, have fallen into and given complete control over to that thought and that lie. And and that has been the fact that if we give over our flesh the control, if we are living too much, by the flesh. Again, there's things that the body needs. We need food, we need sleep, we need sun, we need these certain things, of course. But there's a right way and a wrong way about going about everything. And if we give too much into what this world is telling us about the flesh, the things that we need, the things that we should have, the things that we don't have to wait for, all that, any and all those kinds of things, then I've had this idea that, Satan he doesn't need to be messing with us. He doesn't need to keep tempting us with all this stuff because he knows our flesh is weak. And all he has to do is dangle, this shiny, nice, shiny object in front of us, and we'll give into it. And that's all he needs. So, that's what he's betting on, is that we're all weak enough that we're going to give into our comforts and our pleasures and our wants of the flesh, whether we think it's big or not, or whether we think it's going to have some type of a significant impact or not. And so that's been kind of my thought. And this, as I think about it, just falls into all these different, levels of life and areas of life. Like any kind of a job or company, there's always going to be like a manager, someone who's over everyone else. And once he tells each of his employees what to do, they're going to be doing it until like maybe something comes up and they need help. So I think of it in that sense that, Satan just comes at us and he's like, well, I know that you want this in your flesh, so I'm going to put those kinds of things in front of you. You like this. You have a lust problem. You have a greed problem. You have an anger problem. You have a pride problem. And he's just going to put those things in front of us and let our flesh take care of the rest. So that's kind of how I envision this. And again, he knows all Satan's able to do is take what God's perfect creation and he twists it. So if God created things, or I mean, since God created things, he created food. We need it to survive. We need it every day. Granted, you can go like a month without food, but it's gonna be it's gonna be a little bit of a rough month on the physical side. But we need food and it's a good thing. But as I've seen that Satan has come in and he's corrupted our food system, for example. And now we have people that are obese that, we have these terms that have come up like couch potato, that we've just become very weak and lazy and all these things overall. And I just think of that, how it falls into every area. It falls into our food. It falls into everything that we eat, drink, all the things that we watch. TV was not a bad thing because there wasn't that much of it when it first came out. Now it's become such a quick instantaneous thing. And then now people watch it every single day and they give their lives into it because that's where they need to go to relax, to decompress, to any and all those things. And that, again, that falls in everything. Sex is great. It's meant for marriage. But when we do it outside, the flesh wants to do it right here and now in any moment. We give into it in the flesh side, it's going to have a whole lot of worse repercussions if we do it that way versus if we wait for how God created it to be. So I just look at it in every sense, and I haven't found an example how something that God created that was perfect, and then how Satan's come and twisted it. I haven't seen where anything that if we do it God's way, it's wrong, and if we do it Satan's way, it's right. So it's been those kinds of thoughts that I've been thinking about. So it's kind of why I've been thinking of, kind of a truth we just don't want to hear. And that is, how much we're giving into our flesh. So I got a couple of these verses that stood out. So I got something from St. Augustine of Hippo. He says, right is right, even if no one is doing it, and wrong is wrong, even if everyone is doing it. Something I constantly try to remember to live by. Cato the Elder, he says, if you are ruled by mind, you are a king, if by body, a slave. Now again to the actual verses. Those were my quotes. These are my actual verses. Galatians 5:16 to 17. But I say, walk by the Spirit, and you will not carry out the desires of the flesh. For the flesh sets its desire against the spirit, and the spirit against the flesh. For these are in opposition to one another, so that you may not do the things that you please. Romans 8:5 to 8. For those who are according to the flesh set their minds on the things of the flesh, but those who are according to the Spirit, the things of the Spirit. For the mind set on the flesh is death, but the mind set on the spirit is life and peace. Because the mind set on the flesh is hostile toward God, for it does not subject itself to the law of God, for it is not even able to do so, and those who are in the flesh cannot please God. Galatians 5:24. Now those who belong to Christ Jesus have crucified the flesh with its passions and desires. Lastly, Matthew 16:24. Then Jesus said to his disciples, if anyone wishes to come after me, he must deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. It's a daily thing, sacrificing against our flesh, what we want to have in that moment because it tastes good, and constantly doing what we're supposed to be doing, which is what's right, which is what God wants, which is going to be, what's going to be reviving to the spirit, not giving into the flesh. So it's just that thought about what are we doing in our everyday life, and how can we, if we actually look at it, if we pull ourselves back and look at it in a third person, how are how is it that how we're living and the way we're living and what we give into, not that TV's bad, but how much of it can be bad. Not that music is bad, but certain music is, and it does do certain things to you. Not that food is bad, but certain food very much is. Actually, more food is bad in today's world right now, especially in this country, that we're being more poisoned than anything in all these different areas. So, what is it that we have that we're giving into, that we go to for comfort, relaxation, decompressing, all those things? Are those good? Are those bad? And it's those kinds of things everyone has to act and look at in their everyday life. And I do this, obviously constantly with myself. And, that's why I used to I grew up in front of the TV. Now I will watch no TV. Like the only things that I've watched was like The Chosen and The House of David for the most part, like just watching those newer types of certain shows, and very, very few movies, and that's on a very rare occasion because I used to just live in front of the TV my entire life growing up, and it did nothing for me. So it's things like that. I used to play video games all the time, and then I went and sold my Xbox at the time. I don't even know what they have these days, but I spent so much time in front of it, and I've had to gradually learn and grow in certain areas of, not that this is bad, but my flesh wants it so much that I'm idolizing it over these things that I should be doing. I should be spending more time with God and talking to Him, but I can't do that if I'm going to be sitting there desk scrolling. I can't be getting a healthy physique if I'm going to sit there and eat, 10 pounds of chocolate cake like I used to when I was a kid. I can't do that if I'm doing the unhealthy things, if I'm putting more unhealthy, negative stuff in me, I can't expect anything good or healthy to come from it. And that's just the long and short of it. So, anyways, just that kind of concept that, I know has been a big one for me, and I know I work with dozens of people who the same concept I talk to them about. It's not that spending time with friends is wrong. It's that whenever you have work in the morning and you need to go to bed, otherwise you're going to be all off on your schedule. Sometimes you got to say, I can't stay out all night. It's sometimes I can't go out on the weekend. It's sometimes I've got these other things that are a priority that I have to get done. So give, I can't give all of myself to everyone at all times. I can't do that. So it's just these things for people to think about and go through. So hopefully that was helpful. Maybe that gave you guys some idea of stuff. But anyways, hope best for you guys. Talk to you next time. Have a blessed one.